She walked into the boutique with love in her heart. What she faced instead will leave you speechless. Watch till the end. Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more powerful stories. The morning sun rose gently over New York City's Fifth Avenue, spilling golden light across a street lined with boutiques that stood like shrines to wealth and prestige. Even at this early hour, the avenue hummed with the subtle rhythm of the city, drivers honking in the distance, footsteps of well-dressed professionals on their way to meetings, and the ever-present rustle of the wind slipping between glass towers. Among the steady flow of people was Ava Johnson. 26 years old, tall and graceful in a quiet, unassuming way, she walked with a kind of purpose that didn't ask for attention but naturally drew it. She wore a crisp white t-shirt, soft gray joggers, and clean white sneakers. Her natural curls were pulled into a tight bun, and, aside from a simple wedding ring, she wore no jewelry. Her face was calm, her gaze focused. She had no designer handbag, no oversized sunglasses, no markers of wealth. But that didn't mean she lacked it. Today wasn't about looking rich. It was about love. Her husband Malik's birthday was just days away, and Ava had spent weeks carefully planning the perfect gift. Malik was more than a husband. He was her partner in every sense. A man of elegance, discipline, and influence. The CEO of a vast fashion empire, he owned a network of high-end men's and women's boutiques known for their exclusivity and sophistication. But Ava had never leaned on his name to get special treatment. She never had to. She had come to one of those very boutiques this morning, Valen Style House, to choose a rare, limited edition designer suit from a collection Malik had quietly hinted at months earlier. The store was famous for its minimalist, luxurious aesthetic, and for catering to the city's elite. And though she had been here before with her husband, this was her first time entering alone. The plan was simple. She would choose the suit, have it tailored in secret, and surprise Malik on his birthday, a gesture of thoughtfulness, not extravagance. As she approached the boutique, she took a moment to admire its exterior. Black stone facade, massive gold-framed windows, and mannequins dressed in sleek modern designs under perfect lighting. The inside looked pristine, almost untouched. Staff moved quietly, gliding between racks like shadows. Ava opened the glass door, and a soft chime sounded overhead. She stepped inside. The scent of high-end cologne and polished wood filled the air. Light jazz played subtly in the background. A well-dressed male associate behind the counter looked up, glanced at her once from head to toe, and then looked back down at his tablet. Not a word. Not a welcome. She waited a moment, then walked deeper into the boutique, moving toward a section where she knew the designer suit collection was displayed. Her steps were soft against the polished concrete floor, but the weight of silence was unmistakable. Another associate, a blonde woman in a tailored black dress, passed by her without even a glance. Ava felt it. Not just the dismissal, but the scrutiny without direct confrontation. She had felt it before, in restaurants, at hotels, in elevators, that look of, "You don't belong here." She exhaled slowly and kept walking. The suits were arranged by color and cut. Ava spotted the one she'd come for, a midnight blue, double-breasted Italian wool suit with subtle detailing on the cuffs. She stood still, examining it closely. It was perfect. Malik would appreciate every inch of it. She reached out to touch the fabric gently. Then came the voice. "Can I help you with something?" It was curt, male, and unmistakably condescending. Ava turned to see the man from the front desk approaching. He was white, in his 40s, with slicked back hair and a name tag that read Logan. He didn't smile. His tone wasn't curious, it was suspicious. "Yes," Ava said calmly. "I'd like to see this suit in a size 42 regular." Logan gave a brief, sarcastic huff of a laugh. "That's from our premium designer capsule. Very limited. We don't usually take it off the rack unless we know the customer is serious." Ava met his eyes. "I am serious." He tilted his head and crossed his arms. "Do you have a fitting appointment?" "No," she said. "I was hoping to try it on today." Logan clicked his tongue. "You know, we have a beautiful ready-to-wear section in the back. More casual pieces, still stylish, but more accessible." "I'm not interested in casual wear," Ava replied firmly. "I came for this suit." He didn't move. "Ma'am, may I ask, who's this suit for?" "My husband," she answered. "I'm buying it as a birthday gift." He smirked. "Well, our customers typically schedule fittings. Walk-ins usually don't." Ava interrupted, still calm. "I'm sure if Malik Johnson himself walked in right now, you'd offer a fitting." Logan's expression shifted slightly. "Excuse me?" "He owns this store," Ava added clearly, "and the entire Valen Stylehouse brand. He's my husband." Logan blinked, processing, and then laughed. "Sure he is," he said, scoffing. "I think you should leave now before this becomes awkward." Ava didn't move. "I'm not joking." He waved a hand dismissively. "That's a good story, but it doesn't check out." Before she could reply, another associate, a younger Latina woman, walked up, looking concerned. "Is everything okay here?" "She's wasting our time," Logan said, not even lowering his voice. "Claims she's the owner's wife. Wants the designer capsule." The young woman looked between them, but said nothing. "I'd like to try it on," Ava said again, her voice firmer now. Logan rolled his eyes and finally relented. "Fine. One moment." He turned and walked toward the back, retrieving the suit and bringing it to her. "This way," he muttered, leading her to a dressing room. Ava stepped inside. The space was modern and spacious, with a large mirror and a plush bench. She took a deep breath and began to undress. She folded her clothes neatly, leaving them on the bench, then carefully slipped on the suit jacket. It fit surprisingly well. She turned toward the mirror. The door burst open. Logan stormed in without knocking. "That's enough." Startled, Ava pulled the jacket tighter. "Excuse me?" "You're done," he snapped. "This isn't for show. I don't know what kind of game you're playing, but you're finished here." He walked over, grabbed her folded clothes, and turned toward the door. "What are you doing?" Ava shouted, stepping forward in nothing but the jacket and underwear. He opened the door. "Out, now. Give me my clothes." "No," he barked. "You're not walking around here pretending to be someone you're not." Ava begged, furious and humiliated, but he ignored her. Then came the worst moment of her adult life. He grabbed her by the arm and dragged her to the boutique entrance. She struggled, trying to cover herself. Her voice cracked as she pleaded, but he yanked the jacket from her body and pushed her outside in her underwear. The glass door slammed behind her. Shocked pedestrians stopped in their tracks. Some gasped. Others pulled out phones. Someone laughed. Ava stood frozen, half naked, humiliated, burning with rage and disbelief. And still, she didn't cry. She straightened her back. She clenched her jaw. She stood in silence, shivering in the breeze, and waited. Because she knew one thing. Malik was on his way. And the story was just beginning. Ava stood still in front of the boutique's grand glass doors, the cold morning air brushing across her exposed arms and legs. The silky lining of the discarded suit jacket had done little to protect her, and now even that was gone. She had nothing on but her underwear and the fire in her chest. Her breath was tight, shallow, but her eyes never blinked. She was past tears, past embarrassment. All that remained was a rising storm inside her, waiting for the right moment to break. But even in that moment of public humiliation, she refused to run. People stared, whispered, pointed. Some had already pulled out their phones. A delivery driver slowed down, leaning out the window to gawk. An older woman across the street shook her head in silent pity. A couple passing by quickly turned away, pretending not to see. Ava didn't move. She had told them the truth. She had told them who she was. And they had laughed. She wasn't just a customer. She was the wife of the man who owned the building they stood in, the man who signed paychecks, the man whose initials were engraved on the brass plaque by the boutique's entrance. Inside, Logan paced by the register, still holding Ava's folded clothes under one arm as if they were trash. The other employees watched him with uncertainty. Some were too afraid to speak. Others didn't care. Emily, the blonde associate from earlier, smirked from the far corner, shaking her head. "I've been here 8 years," Logan muttered, loud enough for anyone to hear. "I know how to read people. She walks in here like she owns the place. Please." "She said her husband owns the chain," said the younger Latina associate quietly. "Maybe we should have checked." Logan scoffed. "You really believe that nonsense? Look at her. Look at how she came in dressed. No jewelry, no appointment, no nothing. You think the wife of Malik Johnson shops in joggers." "She knew about the capsule suit," the woman added. "She probably saw it online like everyone else. And now she's trying to act like royalty. It's pathetic." In the dressing room, Ava's purse still sat untouched, abandoned next to the bench, beside the fabric she had so carefully folded. No one had bothered to open it. If they had, they would have seen the custom monogrammed card holder, the black titanium Amex, the personal business card with Malik Johnson's name embossed in silver. But it was never about proof. It was about perception. Ava stood a few feet from the boutique entrance, arms wrapped around her chest. Her breath clouded in the crisp air. Her fingers trembled slightly, not from cold, but from restraint. Inside, she could see Logan returning to the front desk, laughing now. The laughter felt sharper than any insult. It wasn't just what he had done. It was that he felt proud of it. Like he had defended something sacred by pushing her out. A taxi slowed down and the driver rolled down his window. "You okay, miss?" Ava nodded once. "I'm fine." He hesitated. "You want me to call someone?" Her voice was level. "No, he's already coming." The driver blinked, then nodded slowly and drove off. She checked the time on a digital billboard across the street. 11:45 a.m. Malik would be there in 15 minutes. He was never late, especially not for her. Inside the store, Logan was still holding her clothes, tossing them behind the counter like forgotten laundry. The Latina associate finally spoke up again. "Logan, you should really—" "I did what I had to do," he snapped. "Management's going to thank me for not letting some fraud in here playing dress-up. You don't know who she was." "I know exactly who she wasn't," he said coldly. Ava took a deep breath. She glanced around. A small crowd had begun to form across the street, people wondering what the scene was. A few were filming, some were just staring. No one came closer. No one offered help, and yet none of them could look away. She looked down at her bare legs, at her skin flushed with cold. She wanted to scream, to shatter the glass of that boutique with every ounce of rage inside her. But she didn't. Instead, she turned her head and looked down the block. And then she saw it. A black Bentley rolling down Fifth Avenue like a ghost ship through fog. Its tinted windows shimmered under the noon sun. Her breath caught. Her pulse spiked. The car slowed and glided to the curb. The driver, in a dark tailored uniform, stepped out and opened the rear door with crisp precision. From the car emerged Malik Johnson. He stood tall and composed in a navy blue suit, the fabric hugging his frame like it was built for him. He had the calm confidence of a man who owned the ground he walked on, and the people who walked on it. His steps were slow but purposeful. His eyes scanned the block, and then found her. And in that instant, everything stopped. His expression didn't change, but something dark flickered in his gaze. He walked straight to her. Ava didn't say a word. She just looked at him, her eyes unblinking. He shrugged off his blazer and placed it gently around her shoulders, wrapping her in warmth and quiet fury. "Who did this to you?" he asked softly. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Then, simply, "Inside." Malik turned and faced the boutique. Through the window, Logan was laughing again, this time with another employee, completely unaware. Then he saw the man walking toward the door. He stopped laughing. So did everyone else. Malik reached for the handle. The chime rang once, and then silence. Every head inside the store turned. The next few moments were about to reshape the entire world of Valen Stylehouse. And no one, not even Logan, was ready. The boutique's front door opened with a quiet chime that seemed louder than it should have been. As Malik Johnson stepped inside, the silence that followed was immediate and suffocating. The air stilled. Conversations died. Fingers froze mid-gesture. Even the soft jazz from the overhead speakers suddenly felt intrusive. Every employee in the room instinctively turned toward him. Malik moved with composed authority, each step echoing faintly on the polished floor. He didn't speak at first. He didn't need to. The sheer force of his presence made the walls themselves feel smaller. His eyes, dark and sharp, scanned the boutique until they locked onto Logan, who stood motionless behind the front counter. Logan's face twitched with a strained, confused smile. "Good afternoon, sir," he said, his voice suddenly polite, almost rehearsed. "Welcome to Valen Stylehouse. Can I assist you with anything today?" Malik didn't answer immediately. He walked straight past a rack of winter coats and toward the counter, removing his cufflinks with slow, deliberate fingers. He placed them on the marble surface with a soft click, then folded back his sleeves. His voice was calm when it came. "Yes, you can assist me with one thing." Logan swallowed, shifting his weight. "Of course." Malik leaned slightly forward. "Explain to me why my wife is standing outside, barefoot, in her underwear." The color drained from Logan's face. His mouth parted, but no words came. Behind him, the younger Latina associate gasped softly. Emily turned ashen, suddenly taking a step backward. The silence thickened. Your wife?" Logan stammered. "Sir, she said—" "She said the truth," Malik cut in, his tone quiet but cutting like a scalpel. "You didn't listen. You didn't verify. You humiliated her." Logan looked toward the window, where Ava still stood, wrapped in her husband's blazer, her head held high. His eyes darted back to Malik. "It was a misunderstanding," Logan blurted out. "She didn't have ID. She was aggressive. She said she was your wife, but she didn't look like—" He stopped himself too late. Malik's eyebrows lifted just slightly. "Didn't look like what?" No, I didn't mean it like that." Malik took one slow step around the counter. "Yes, you did." Logan backed up a half step. I was just doing my job." We've had people come in before, saying all sorts of—" Malik's fist connected with Logan's face with a single, clean, devastating punch. Logan flew back against the wall, crashing into a display of watches and belts. Glass shattered. A tray clattered to the floor. Gasps erupted from employees and a couple of customers who were frozen near the shoe section. Malik didn't raise his voice. He didn't charge forward. He simply turned, looked at the stunned staff, and said, "You just witnessed the moment you'll remember for the rest of your lives." He walked slowly back toward the center of the boutique, adjusting the cuffs of his now wrinkled shirt. "You think this is about a misunderstanding? About a lost sale? This is about human dignity." Logan groaned on the floor, blood trickling from his nose. Malik addressed the room. "I built this brand. Every store, every client, every design, I built it on the belief that excellence must come with respect. What happened here today?" He pointed toward the shattered display behind the counter. "This didn't begin with a punch. It began when one of you decided a black woman in joggers didn't belong here." He looked at each employee, locking eyes with them one by one. "And then none of you stopped it." The Latina associate stepped forward. I tried to say something. I told him she might be telling the truth." Malik nodded once. "I saw you. Thank you. You're not the problem." He turned to Emily. "You?" Emily's face was pale. "I didn't know who she was. And that's the entire issue. It shouldn't matter who she is. My wife shouldn't have to carry a biography or a net worth on her forehead just to be treated like a human being. She's not just my wife. She's a woman, a customer. And what happened to her?" He turned toward Logan, still struggling to sit up. "Will never happen again in my store." He looked to the rest of the employees. "From this moment on, every one of you will undergo comprehensive training in racial bias, awareness, and equitable customer service. Mandatory, no exceptions." No one moved. Malik walked over to a glass table near the cashier and picked up a clipboard. He flipped it around and slammed it down with a pen. "Those who refuse to participate," he said coolly, "can sign their resignation right now." No one stepped forward. Not yet. The room stayed silent except for Logan's ragged breath. Malik turned back toward the counter, retrieved his cufflinks, and slipped them into his pocket. Then he reached behind the counter and grabbed Ava's carefully folded clothes. Without a word, he carried them outside. The chime rang again as he exited. He walked straight to Ava and gently handed her the clothes. "I handled it," he said softly. She looked at him at the tension still etched into his brow and simply nodded. "Thank you," she whispered. Malik turned, shielding her with his body from the onlookers. Some people were still filming, others just watched silently, awkwardly. None of them mattered now. Inside the store, the staff remained frozen. Logan had pulled himself upright and was leaning against the wall, dabbing at his bleeding nose with a napkin. The atmosphere was no longer elite. It was radioactive. Back outside, Ava slowly began dressing. Malik stood beside her the entire time, not saying a word. When she slipped back into her joggers and shirt, she handed his blazer back to him. He didn't take it. "Keep it," he said. "You wore it better." Ava gave a faint smile, though her eyes were still stormy. "You didn't have to hit him." Malik looked at her. "Yes, I did." They stood for a moment longer on the sidewalk. The same spot where she'd been humiliated less than 20 minutes earlier now felt like neutral ground. But this wasn't over. It was just the beginning of what needed to change. The Bentley pulled away slowly from the curb in front of Valen's Style House, but Malik and Ava didn't leave. They stepped just around the corner, out of direct view of the store's windows. The mood was heavy, not with chaos, but with clarity. Malik's breathing had steadied. The storm in his chest had quieted, but his focus was now sharpened into something even more dangerous than fury: intention. Ava stood beside him in silence, her back straight, her face calm, but the heat in her veins still simmered. She had been humiliated, stripped of not just clothing, but of identity. And now, after seeing how easily it happened, even with her last name, she knew this wasn't just about her. This was about every woman like her who didn't have a billionaire husband walking through the door. Every woman who walked in and got sized up, ignored, dismissed, or worse. Every black woman who was told with looks and silence that she didn't belong. She would not let that pass unanswered. "I want them to know," Ava said finally, turning to Malik. "All of them. Not just Logan. Every single person who stood there and did nothing." Malik nodded slowly. "Then we'll make them know." They walked back into the boutique together. Inside, the atmosphere had changed completely. The air was thick with unease. Logan had been escorted to the employee lounge by a security officer called in discreetly from corporate. His nose was broken. His job was gone. But the discomfort hadn't left with him. It hung over every associate like a second ceiling. When Malik and Ava re-entered the store, no one laughed. No one smirked. All eyes lowered as the couple walked slowly to the center of the boutique. Malik raised one hand slightly, commanding attention with a single motion. "This isn't over," he said, loud enough for every employee to hear. He gestured toward Ava, who stood beside him, now fully dressed, still wearing his blazer over her joggers like a badge of resolve. "I'm not here just as Malik's wife," she began, her voice clear and even. "I'm not here as a victim either. I'm here because what happened to me is a reflection of what happens to women like me every single day. And I'm not going to walk away quietly." Emily opened her mouth slightly as if to say something, but Malik's quick glance silenced her. Ava continued, "I walked into this store with one purpose: to buy a gift for my husband. I wasn't looking for a favor. I wasn't pretending to be anyone. I told the truth from the beginning, and I was treated like a liar, like a thief, like a joke." Her voice didn't waver. "You all saw it, and none of you said a word, not when he mocked me, not when he insulted me, not when he took my clothes and pushed me outside like trash." The Latina associate, eyes brimming with shame, looked down at her shoes. Ava's voice dropped slightly, quieter, more piercing. "The worst part of racism is not always the words. Sometimes it's the silence." Malik stepped forward again. "I've built Valen Style House into what it is today because I believe fashion should reflect excellence, and that starts with the people who represent it. You think you can judge someone's worth based on what they wear or how they speak or the color of their skin?" He shook his head. "Then you don't understand what this brand is, and maybe you never did." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded document. "This," he said, holding it up, "is the new policy framework for every Valen Style House location. Starting immediately, every employee, regardless of title or tenure, will complete intensive training on racial bias, customer respect, and ethical conduct. The program will be led and overseen by Mrs. Ava Johnson." The room shifted. A few eyes widened. Some blinked in disbelief. Ava stepped forward again. "I will personally be reviewing each of you, your behavior, your growth, your willingness to unlearn everything that poisoned this moment. If you can't do that, if you believe I don't belong here, then you're free to leave now. This place is not for you." A man in a vest from the shoe section cleared his throat and raised his hand nervously. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know how to help." Ava looked at him directly. "Then learn," she said simply. Malik walked to the counter, opened the document folder, and placed a sign-up sheet on the glass. "If you want to stay," he said, "start by putting your name here." One by one, slowly, hands moved. The young Latina associate stepped up first and signed, then the man from shoes, then 2 more associates, then another. Emily remained frozen, her arms crossed, her jaw tight. Ava turned to her last. "You still think I don't belong here?" Emily hesitated. Her pride, clearly wounded, flared in her eyes, but behind it there was fear. Real fear. "I think I judged you," she said through gritted teeth. "And I was wrong." Ava didn't nod, didn't accept it as enough. "I'm not the exception," she said. "I'm the standard. And from now on, every woman who walks through this door deserves the same respect you'll give to your most elite client. You don't get to choose whose money is worthy. That choice is gone." Malik looked at the staff once more. "This is your chance. One chance. Don't waste it." He turned back toward the door. Ava followed, but before stepping out she turned one last time to the store she had once admired. No longer a place of luxury. Now a place of reckoning. As the door shut behind them, the sound was not of a departure. It was the sound of change beginning. And this time it had a name. The sun had shifted higher over Fifth Avenue, casting a stronger light across the sidewalk where Malik and Ava now stood. The air, once cool, now carried warmth, but neither of them moved immediately. The boutique's door closed behind them with a soft click, a final punctuation to the storm they had just left. But there was no celebration, no triumph, just silence. Ava stood facing the avenue, her arms crossed gently beneath the blazer Malik had insisted she keep. Her face held no trace of the humiliation from earlier, only calm, fierce, composed calm. Malik stood beside her, arms at his sides, watching the reflections in the boutique window. He spoke first. "Too much?" Ava looked up at him, a slight smirk touching her lips. "Not even close." He exhaled slowly, almost a laugh, but his shoulders remained stiff. "I didn't want to make a scene." Ava raised a brow. "You punched a man and rewrote company policy in front of your employees." He finally smiled, faint but genuine. "I guess I did." A long pause followed. Then Ava said quietly, "I think it was important that they saw it wasn't just about who I'm married to." Malik nodded. "They'll never forget." But Ava shook her head. "It can't stop with that boutique. You know it. There are others like Logan in every one of your stores. Same judgment, same assumptions. If they see someone in sneakers and a simple shirt, they'll still think less." Malik turned to face her fully. "Then we change the culture." "You can't fix culture with a workshop," Ava said. "You fix it by expecting better, consistently, from everyone." He studied her face for a long moment. "Then you'll help me." Ava gave a faint laugh. "I already am." They began walking slowly down the avenue, leaving the boutique behind. The city moved around them, traffic groaning at intersections, heels tapping on concrete, laughter echoing from cafe patios. But for them, the world was a little quieter. The shame of earlier still lingered in Ava's chest, like ash after a fire. She hadn't expected to be reduced like that. Not again, not at this point in her life. She had grown too much, lived too much, learned how to walk into a room and command it with grace, not by flashing wealth or dropping names. And yet, one man's arrogance had nearly stripped her of all that. Nearly. But not quite. Because dignity wasn't something anyone could hand her, or take away. They passed a storefront with mirrored windows, and Ava caught a glimpse of herself, her posture tall, the blazer draped across her frame like armor, her expression unreadable. She paused and looked at her reflection for a beat. "I used to love shopping," she said. Malik stopped beside her. "Used to?" "Used to walk into stores, feel the fabrics, admire the details, but at some point I started wondering if I was being followed. If someone would ask, 'Are you lost?' or point me to the sales rack even when I came to spend 5 figures. She looked at him now, her voice lower, and then, today, he took my clothes, my own clothes, like I didn't even deserve to keep what I came in with." Malik's fists clenched slightly. "I should have gotten here earlier." "No," she said, "you came when I needed you. But this wasn't about saving me. It was about showing them what respect looks like." They continued walking. A few blocks later, they arrived at a quiet restaurant tucked between 2 glass towers. A valet stepped forward to greet them. Malik handed him the Bentley keys, and Ava smiled faintly at the sight of the familiar place. They were shown to a private booth in the corner, far from the windows. The noise of the city melted away behind them. Malik sat across from her, and for the first time that day, his shoulders dropped. He reached across the table and took her hand. "I'm proud of you," he said. She looked up, surprised. "For what?" "For standing your ground, for not letting them define you." "I've had practice," she replied. "More than I should have." The server approached, hesitant, polite. No one asked for names, no one questioned their presence, and yet Ava noticed how deferent the tone was, how careful the glances were. Not because of her, because of Malik, because of the suit, because of perception. And for once, she didn't let it slide unnoticed. When the drinks arrived, she leaned forward, serious now. "Promise me something. Anything. When you launch this training program, don't make it about branding. Don't let them treat it like another PR cleanup. Make it about the people, about the women who come into your stores alone and get judged before they speak." "I promise," he said without hesitation. She searched his eyes and found no resistance, only resolve. They clinked glasses once. For the first time that day, the quiet between them felt earned. Outside, the boutique they had left was still in chaos. Word had already spread. A tweet had gone viral showing a blurry clip of Ava standing in her underwear outside the door with a caption, "They didn't know who they were messing with." But Ava didn't check her phone. She didn't need to. She had already written her message in firm steps, in a steady voice, in the refusal to shrink. Not because of power, not because of marriage, because she knew who she was. And the next time someone like her walked into that store, quiet, unassuming, dressed in comfort but carrying pride, they'd be treated not like an outsider, but like the standard. Because dignity doesn't ask permission. It demands it. Some moments change everything, not with noise, but with dignity. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. More true power is coming.